All right, good afternoon. My name is Mark Hinkle, and I'm chair of the National Libertarian Party, and we're gathered here at the Embassy Suites Airport in Orlando, Florida. This presidential debate is being sponsored by the Libertarian Party of Florida, and we're very delighted to have you all here. And of course, those who are going to be viewing this on the internet, we are pleased to have you here as well. And without further ado, shall we start with the opening remarks? Mr. Wright.
Thank you. Thank the Libertarian Party of Florida for having us all here today. I told our friends in Houston at the debate we had in December, I'm running for president so I can leave you alone. Yes, I'm part of that vast libertarian conspiracy of people that want to take over the government and leave you alone. And we get asked all the time, how can the Libertarian Party make a difference? How can we make a difference in 2012? The way the Libertarian Party makes a difference in 2012 and beyond is we have to be different. We have to show people how we are different and how it's okay to be different. There's nothing different about libertarians as far as this country goes. We love this country. We care about our neighbors. We raise our families and we want to prosper. That makes us just like every other American. Where we differ is that we just don't like a lot of things the government's doing, because we know how much government gets in the way of individuals doing something. So the way we make a difference is be different, and that'll be easy for us because all we have to do is be ourselves. Be unwavering, uncompromising, deliver a libertarian message that is an American message. Offer people true choices with rational alternatives, and show them that libertarians are not the boogeymen that they've been led to believe by a media hype. We spend far too much time defending ourselves and not enough time educating people on what we really are. That's what this campaign is all about. That's why we chose to stand to stop all war. We're not just talking about the foreign interventions that we're involved in around the world. We're talking about stopping the wars right here in our own country. War on drugs, war on poverty, war on ignorance. We got a war against everything. Every time there's a problem, we have a war on it. And nothing ever gets fixed. War doesn't work. We need to bring peace and a peaceful message delivered by the party that will offer true choice with rational alternatives. Yes, we can make a difference in 2012. We just have to be different.
What is your position on tax reform?
The greatest thing we can do to reform taxes in this country is get rid of most of them. We're taxing people to death. That's why they can't sustain a small business in this country anymore. It costs so much in regulations to do it, and then have the tax burden heaped on top of it. There's no way for them to make money and to prosper. Only the big companies can afford to do business in America anymore because of this. The greatest thing we can do in tax reform is reduce the regulations. I agree we should do away with the income tax and replace it with nothing. I'm reminded of what Thomas Sowell said. If you put out a forest fire, what do you replace it with? Nothing.
All right. Assuming you are all against waste, fraud, and abuse in government, what programs, departments, agencies, czars do you propose to eliminate?
All of them. Yeah, we started this country with something like 5 executive departments or cabinet positions. Now you can't even keep up with how many there are. We've created so many more down through the years. Certainly, the one thing we need to do away with first off is Homeland Security. We've had a Department of Homeland Security all along. It's called the Department of Defense. The last thing we need in government right now is redundancy. 2 agencies to do the same job. Plus, as it's been so aptly pointed out already, with the grope and tag policies that the TSA has now, I mean, I'm glad I'm going on the road after this one. I had a one-way flight here, and I don't know when the next time is I'll have to fly, and I'm glad of it. I'd rather be in a car. I'd rather for it to take me days than to go through the humiliation that we have to face just to be safe, or supposedly to be safe. It's one thing that the Homeland Security Department has never caught, has never confiscated in 10 years of existence, is a terrorist.
Time.
America has many bases overseas. How many of these should we keep open and how many should we close? And how long would it take your administration to take action on this?
Well, this is an easy one for me. I've been keeping up with my campaign. You know what my policy is. As soon as I will entertain the fantasy that I'll actually be elected president for just a moment and tell you that as soon as I finish taking the office, the oath, I'm going to declare peace. I'm going to tell the world that America's going to be at peace. And I expect the Joint Chiefs of Staff within 90 days to have plans ready to disembark all military personnel from every station over outside the American shores and bring them all home. You know, one of the big three in our budget. You could do away with you could do away with everything except military, Social Security, Medicare, and we'd still be going broke. We'd still be going into debt. Part of that is because for every military personnel overseas, there is between, depending on where they are, there's between 7 and 12 support people and contractors. 12 people per every soldier over there. That's why it's cost us so much. Bring them all home.
What is your plan for bringing forth real economic recovery? Is it as simple as cutting spending, going back to a gold standard, and abolishing the Federal Reserve?
Spending does have to be addressed. We don't need to cut spending. We don't need to reduce spending. We don't need to freeze spending. Anything that's frozen can be fought out again. We need to stop spending. Stop spending and stop printing. We got to find deep cuts. Like I was just alluding to before, if you did away with everything, literally everything in the federal budget, every single item, and left military, Social Security, and Medicare, we'd still be going into debt. We've got to address the spending problem that we have, and what you do about that is to stop. We've got to deregulate. As Governor Johnson was just pointing out, what did he do? What can the president do to create jobs? Get out of the way. Get out of people's way. Deregulate. The last thing I would do is I would lobby for repealing all legal tender laws. Return precious metals to the currency market. It would be long the Fed would go away, because nobody wants money that's not worth the paper it's printed on.
Time.
Is there a case, or are there any cases, whereby the United States should intervene militarily in a foreign country?
One of the greatest problems with American foreign policy right now is we have what I like to call a nosy neighbor policy. And as you all know, there's nothing worse than somebody that moves in next door to you and is in your business all the time. In fact, the only one thing that could make it worse was if it was somebody on the other side of town. Didn't even live next door to you. Or was in the next town, still minding your business for you all the time. We need to stop this nosy neighbor policy of foreign interventions and set a good example about being a good neighbor for a change. We go all over the place acting like policemen of the world. We've got ourselves spread so thin that if we were attacked, the troops would all be somewhere else and we'd be in trouble. I heard they interviewed somebody in one of the movements in San Francisco. Her answer to that was, if somebody attacks us, call the police. We need to bring our troops home so we can be safe, stop meddling in everybody else's business.
The question is, trade policy and immigration policy are areas where libertarian governors at home would clash with foreign nations' economic policies that favor state control of the economy. How would you address immigration and trade policies in a libertarian administration?
Many things that I discovered when we started with this Stop All War platform. So we began to look at the conflicts that we've had in the past and how it affected trade. And what we found was that most economic recovery that has occurred in this country has happened after we declared peace. Now look at Japan. Less than 100 years ago, Japan was our sworn mortal enemy. So bad that we put hundreds of thousands of Japanese Americans in concentration camps because we were so afraid of them. Today we wouldn't think about attacking Japan because we're so locked with the trade policy that we established. It came because of peace. Immigration policy definitely needs reform. Saw a Stossel report on this just a few months ago. If you're a PhD and you live in India, you want to come to America, immigrate, it takes you about 5 to 7 years. If you're south of the border and you're a migrant worker, same process takes you 131 years. You make the law impossible to follow, people will not follow it.
Time.
In the last 10 years, the U.S. has seen a massive stock market crash, followed by a housing crash, followed by publicly funded bailouts and buyouts of large businesses, followed by a soaring debt. What is your remedy, if any, for these calamities?
Well, I'm tempted just to say what he said, but I won't say that. I hate to sound like a broken record, but here again, the way I'm interpreting this question is, how does the president fix the economy, basically? The problem is one man can't fix it. Can't create any jobs. The only jobs he created are more expensive jobs for us bureaucrats. What we need is deregulation. The research has been done, and it's been highlighted in Dr. Ruark's fine book, Healing Our World. For every regulator that loses their job, 150 private sector jobs are created. So I intend to get there and fire as many bureaucrats as I can. That's going to 150 every time. That's how you build the economies, get out of people's way, let them, the people are the economy. You got to be out of their way and let them prosper, and the whole country will prosper.
Anybody Saunders?
Ditto.
It seems that you're all in favor of drug re-legalization, yet there are 3 million in the United States jails. More than half for drug usage. Some characterize the war on drugs as a war on our children. How would you deal with this problem of so many inmates in jail?
Stop putting more inmates in jail, for one thing. We need to declare peace on the war on drugs. This has been the most miserable failure this country has ever seen. A classic example of how war does not work. There are people out there killing each other. The drugs aren't killing them. They're killing them because we have taken small, cheap plants and turned them into extravagant profits for black market industry, for organized crime, much like Prohibition. There was no mafia before Prohibition. They outlawed alcohol, and it built the biggest criminal organization this country has ever seen. Prohibition is death, and it's the death that it causes is worse than the drugs themselves. All of this because we're afraid. We're afraid of this demon drug or this whatever other demon we're at war at. These wars don't work. It's time to declare peace. Stop putting those people in jail and release the nonviolent drug offenders that we have in there now.
Is simulated drowning or waterboarding torture? If not, what would you define torture? And what action would you take against people who have performed this in the past?
If torture is in fact a crime, indeed a war crime, when it's done to a U.S. soldier, sailor, Marine, Coast Guardsman, if it is in fact a crime then, and it's a crime when we turn around and do it to someone else. Now this is kind of a touchy subject for me just because I had a different kind of military experience than most people have. I'm an Air Force veteran. I was a nurse, a medic. I had to deal with the aftermath of war. I had to take care of people that were tortured. And let me tell you, the effects of torture last far longer, years beyond where the pain stops. Turns young men into something they never would have been. We shouldn't be doing that to anybody, and nobody should be doing it to us.
Time.
Many Americans are proud of the social safety net this country has created over the last 100 years, and they're afraid that a libertarian administration will harm that. As president, what will you tell these people?
Well, the problem with this whole safety net issue is that we've had this big, huge safety net for years. That net has become tattered and torn. You start to lose people when you do that. They start falling out through the cracks. The net is so large, in fact, that just like everything else government tries to do, eventually it gets so big, one hand don't know what the other one's doing. There's no way that they can take care of what they're supposed to take care of, so it doesn't get taken care of. What we need to do is return those nets to the local community. Let's have smaller nets that are easy to care for. Philanthropic agencies were huge in this country before welfare programs took over. Americans are the most compassionate and philanthropic people on the face of the earth. They prove it in times of crisis. This is another place where private businesses and communities can do a better job than the federal government could ever dream of doing.
Have you a short list in mind for your vice presidential candidate and, after Election Day, for members of your cabinet, perhaps even some of your neighbors on the stage?
There isn't anyone on stage that I would not choose. And I also understand that the Libertarian Party chooses the nominee, although the nominee themselves get to suggest.
Well, I'll have to say, Governor Johnson, that I honestly hope you don't have that problem. I like the way that we do things in the Libertarian Party. It goes right off what I started out saying. We do things different. We don't pick a presidential guy and then he gets to pick his buddy, and that's who y'all pick. And it don't work like that. There's going to be a run for the vice presidential spot just like there is for this. And because I've been focused so much on this, I haven't given much thought to that race, to be frank with you. What I would want is somebody that's ready to stand up and be unequivocal and unashamed about being a libertarian and be willing to give a libertarian answer to every question that's put before them. And there's really only one answer to every question: freedom. Of course, you don't say freedom when they ask you a question every time, but we need to give them an example of how freedom is the answer to every possible question. I want to see a united presidential and vice presidential team willing to spread the libertarian message and how different we really are.
In your opinion, who was the best past president and why? And also, which candidate that's ran in the past for the Libertarian Party do you consider the best candidate that we've had in the past?
I've actually been asked this question before. Being a historian, I get this question a lot. Who was the best president? And I always have to give the same answer. I'm torn between two. I certainly favor Thomas Jefferson. No one in the history of the world has been able to explain liberty in fewer words and make it more clear than Thomas Jefferson. But on the other hand, I favor, more than anyone, James Madison, father of the Constitution, a man who knew intimately what the Constitution meant, what was intended by the words that were entailed in it, and did a good job of following it to the nth degree. As far as the best libertarian candidate, I sincerely hope that you are looking at him now. But I can't think of any candidate that has held our candle higher and been more eloquent about delivering our message than the late great Harry Brown.
Do you support the repeal of laws compelling acceptance of government-issued money?
Well, one of the biggest problems with our monetary system is that the government has given itself a monopoly on printing money. If you want money, you got to go to the government to get it. And so it can cost them whatever they want it to cost to make it for you. They're not losing anything. Yeah, we need to repeal the illegal tender laws. This is one of the things that I have been talking about as far as helping the economy recover. Return bullions of all kinds, competing currencies to the market. And it won't take long. The Federal Reserve will go away because nobody will want paper money that's worthless. They'll want money that's worth something, just like everything else. The Constitution gives Congress the right to coin money. You say anything about printing paper money, they didn't like paper money any better than we did, trust me. So, yeah, we need to repeal the legal tender laws to get this country back on track.
After you're sworn in as president, are you going to establish in priority what's going to get your attention? For example, the terrorist threat, or energy policy, or treaties with the UN or NATO, or spending, taxation, or restoring the Constitution?
Well, you hit it perfectly with that last statement. Restore the Constitution. I want a government small enough to fit into the Constitution. And when I lay my hand on the Bible and take the oath, I'm swearing to uphold the Constitution of the United States. You've seen the Cato's. That's a small document. I'm not swearing to uphold all the federal statutes and regulations that every bureaucrat that could think of down through the ages has come up with and put on the books. I'm talking about reams and reams of paper that would fill this whole room, literally. I'm not swearing to uphold unconstitutional laws. I'm swearing to uphold the Constitution. My first priority will be, of course, to address the war issue, to immediately allow the American people and the rest of the world to know America is declaring peace. And it's easier to do than you think, since nobody's bothered to seek a declaration of war for any of these interventions that we're in that can be spoken out of existence just as easily as they were spoken into existence. This is something the president can do, and somebody needs to be in that position that will do it, that has the courage to do it.
We'll now go to the 3-minute close. And
3 minutes or 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
I asked for 3, but 3 is acceptable. 3 is acceptable. So you don't have to use all your time. Sometimes brevity is good.
I was sitting here thinking about what I was going to say, and I had everything in my mind, and then I said, no, I'm not going to say that. So now I don't know what I'm going to say except this. I believe what you've seen tonight, or this afternoon, is a demonstration of exactly what I said in my opening remarks. Yeah, we can make a difference in 2012. We can do it by being different, and you've seen a debate that was different today than what you're used to seeing. You didn't see guys up here going out for blood with each other. You saw people with ideas, true choices, with rational alternatives. That's what you've been offered today. Something new, something different than what the American people are being force-fed all the time. I've made the analogy before that we don't really do debates when we go to these events, and we've been to many of them. This is a job interview. All of us want to be your candidate. Here's your applicants. This has been your opportunity to have that job interview and make your choice. True choice with rational alternatives. Yep, we sure can make a difference just by being different. The great thing about that is it's easy because most of us are already different. I know it's kind of funny, but we are. Anybody in this country that doesn't go along with the status quo, doesn't want to have what the Democrats and Republicans are dishing out, whether they're sitting in this room or sitting somewhere else, they're different. Those are the people we need to appeal to, people just like us, people that are different, and show how being different is okay. It's not a bad thing. In fact, in this case, it's a very good thing. We need to make a difference in this country. We need to be different to make that difference. I hope you'll join me. My personal slogan throughout this campaign is, I am not at war. Now, those of you that know me for a long time, you know how significant that statement is. I am a warrior. I have quite a reputation for being a warrior in this party. But I've embraced peace. People have been remarking, well, Lee, you just look so much happier. That's what happens when you get war out of your life and you accept peace. It's a good feeling. You'll be happy. It ain't hard. The enemy's not in this room, folks. We can't think about stopping wars outside of a convention hall till we stop the wars inside its walls. The enemy's not in this room. We are the difference that America needs. So let's be different. Thank you for having us.